Yo, yo, testing one, two. Okay. All right. Welcome to another episode. Um, Nigel Johnson, aka Equity Rich, fourth generation real estate investor, certified affordable housing provider, and real estate operator. And I'm here with Josh. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Joshua Kimbrough L, second generation banker, private lender, certified family office executive, humanitarian, social impact investor, and author of Mind Estate.
There it is. All right. So I was out in the field today, and I was talking to my field supervisor. Neil's been working for me for 25 years or so. I think he started working for me in 2001 or 2002. If you've tuned into this channel for a while, you might have heard some stories about him along the way. Um, but I brought him out to one of the properties today, or he was going to working on one of the projects today. And my buddy uh, that owns a heating and cooling company, he invited me to come check out one of the properties that was getting ready for the World Cup, who's going to be here in a few weeks here in Kansas City. And the investor for the property has been getting it ready for Airbnb, and short-term rental, right? And I was particularly impressed with the level of quality, the level of detail, the design that went into this property. And I really admired it, and he was saying, this is an investor I need to meet. Maybe I'll bring him on a podcast, do some interviews and things with them. So I'm really admiring this investor's work from afar. So in fact, I admired it so much that I called my maintenance supervisor, Neil, and said, Neil, you should come by here and check this out. Okay. And I want you to get an idea of what it is that we're aiming for now and going towards the future. And, of course, when you invite contractors out, and they're looking at other contractors' work, they tend to look at different things than the rest of us look at, right? So he's showing up like, well, that could have been a little straighter and that could have been. I'm like, Neil, that's not what we're here for. We're not here to evaluate. I need you to take off your contractor hat for a second and put on the hat that transplants or transports you to the mind of the consumer, right? That means the renter, that means the buyer, that means, the occupant, you're right, the person that's actually going to be benefiting, right, from occupying this property. Because there's a little trap that happens when you've been in the business a long time or you've been doing it for a long time, which is that you have somewhat of a disconnect between your involvement and the user's ultimate experience with the product, right? And that you just gradually slip away from it. You gradually lose that over time, right? So if you're not careful, right, you'll lose sight of what matters, which ultimately is the customer or the client's experience, right? And I had explained to him, I said, look, I want you to look at this. Let's walk through this house with fresh eyes, brand new eyes. And I want you to see not just what they're doing different, but the foundation of what they're doing that's the same as what we're doing, and how a little bit of seasoning can make the meat taste just that much better, right? I got a call about maybe a month or two ago, and it was the end of the first year of the lease for a lady that had moved in, and she was kind of not as happy. She had just got Section 8 for the first time, and she grew up under mom's house where she was out in the suburbs, right? And she was coming towards the end of her voucher, right? And if she did not find a property before that expiration date, she would lose that voucher, and her children would not know where they were going to be able to stay, right? So she got referred to my company, to me, and I reached out to her and I said, "Look, I don't have anything in the suburbs, not right now, anyway. What I have is in the city, but we do take Section 8, and we would love to work with you." That was the first conversation. Well, as that expiration date approached, she ultimately called me back. She viewed the property. I like the property, but it's just in the city, and I just really want to be somewhere else. And the typical. And I said, "Look, that's fine. if it doesn't work for you, because we want somebody that's going to be here, happy to be here, and expect to be here for several years. Our average resident stays 7 years. So I'd rather find out now if this neighborhood is not going to work for you, if the distance to the job is not going to work for you, if the grocery store is not close enough, if the school district is not a good one for your kids, if whatever is a deal breaker, let's identify that now before you move in. And I truly believe it kind of helped the close by me empowering her, and I didn't put the pressure on her to say, "Oh, look, you need to come get in this house." No, it's look, if this is a good fit for you, it is. And if not, then it's not. But let's not play with ourselves, and let's enter into this thing with our eyes wide open, right? So she thought about it, she slept on it, and she was like, "Well, I guess I'll go ahead and give it a try. I think it might work for me." She moved in, and I was kind of worried in the beginning, to be honest. I was like, "Okay, is this going to work out?" Because you never know when they first move in. You don't know if it's going to be a problem. It's going to work. You don't know. You can go in with good intention, but you really don't know until it happens, right? So this first year has passed. In fact, it was before her first year ended. And all of a sudden, I started getting phone calls, and I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, what's going on? Is it a maintenance thing? Is it what is it?" Right? So I pick up the phone, and I'm finding out. She's like, "Look, I'm so worried. I have not got my lease extension in the mail or in my email or anything. And I know my lease is coming up, it's about to expire in the next couple months. And I love my house. I love staying here. I mean, I love everything about. I love what it looks like. I don't want to move. I want to stay here, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be okay. That I continue to be able to stay here, and I just want to make sure I've done everything I can so that I can stick around this house, right? Because this is working for me and my family, and this is where I want to be." And that was a very refreshing phone call, especially when you're thinking it could be someone calling to complain about something or something broke, or you never know what the calls are gonna entail, right? So getting that call is like, okay. So fast forward to today. I'm out front of this short-term rental, and I'm talking to Neil, and I'm explaining that phone call to him, and I said, "Look, we need more of those calls." Okay. I want more of those calls. I mean, the phone's gonna ring. Maintenance requests are gonna come in, and certain things that this business requires is gonna happen, right? But if we can have more positive client experience where they're effectively begging to stay, like, "Please, is there anything I can do to stay here? I want this house." We want to create those outcomes, right? And again, if he takes off his contractor hat and he entered into the home, and I said, "Put in your consumer hat, your client hat, your renter hat, your buyer hat, right? The occupant's hat, right? And walk through and see what they see, right? It's not just two colors, gray walls with white trim, right? We got some doors painted a third color. We got some bare wood mixed in throughout. We have some recessed lights and certain other things, and faucets and light fixtures and things where the accent colors on them kind of complement and tie everything together. It shows effort, right? And that effort oftentimes is appreciated and reciprocated in business. Now, does it cost more? Not really. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these things don't cost more. I'm buying paint anyway.
Sometimes the answer is yes, it does cost more, but the benefit outweighs, in the long run, the ROI outweighs it. So, but in this case, no, it didn't.
I mean, you're right. Let me go back to my my grad school framing, right? Because I was just thinking, like, man, I've earned some of these gray hairs, man. I'm coming up on 20 years next year since I got out of grad school, right? And one of the key phrases or key concepts that I took away from grad school was I learned a lot of things from my statistics class, right? But um, you know, for one thing that they talked about, one concept was whether something was statistically significant or not. I was like, what? Like, I used to approach things as black and white. Josh, you a finance guy, so I know you're well versed in statistically significant versus not, right? But
Is it correlated or is it not correlated? That's the proper terminology.
yeah, so when I say does it cost more, I don't mean I'm not speaking in absolute terms. I'm speaking in relative terms. So more concrete example. When we're in this guy's house, he has black water, bathroom faucets, right? And if I typically just go by the chrome ones, well, how much more is the black one? Is it maybe $1, $2? Is that the huge cost driver for the project, that extra dollar or two? I would put that in the category of not statistically significant, or you could shorten it to saying doesn't really cost that much more to be a difference maker, right? But from the user's perspective, having faucets that are particular colors and coordinated with colors throughout, and maybe some of that raw wood design. This it has the address letters on the front of the house. You see some of that raw wood accents throughout the house in certain key spots and things like that, where the outside of the home also ties to the inside of the home, right? Now, here's another way where it could either not cost more or possibly end up costing less to do it the better way and get the better outcome. Because if I know my color schemes, right, I often preach to investors, if you know what colors you're getting, now you can buy in bulk. Now your economies of scale can be in your favor. Now, when you're at Home Depot and something, you're purchasing $2,000 worth of cabinets, right? And you got another rehab you're starting in a couple of days. Maybe on that same order, you go ahead and get the $500 worth of fixtures and light fixtures and all that kind of stuff for the next order on the same purchase or on the same visit. So now you've met that $2,500 watermark so that you can submit for bid room pricing at Home Depot, where everything you're purchasing gets discounted so many times that you come close to that, and you're so focused on trying to save a few pennies. I learned it was a quote I was given early in my career. It said, don't trip over dollars to pick up pennies. Do not trip over dollars to pick up pennies, right? Because that's not going to get you ahead. So as we went through there, we saw so many things, and Neil pointed out, and I said, "Look, he put down that contractor hat for a second. It was a struggle to get him to put it down, right? You've been doing something 40 years. I mean, you know, but but he was able to put it down for a second, and he saw the vision. And when it came to the house he was working on, he's like, "Man, we got this huge roll of linoleum that we bought on sale." I'm like, "Yes, but does the color scheme match?" He pulled up with a countertop for the kitchen in the back of his truck. He was like, "Hey, I'm saving you some money. I got this countertop in here. I'm gonna put it back in storage, and I'm just gonna reuse the existing countertop that's there." I'm like, "What color is that countertop? What color is that linoleum you're putting in that kitchen floor? What color is the rest of the house?" I'm like, "Does this match?" Or hold on, get this light. But I'm like, does this stuff is it coordinated? Is it belt with suspenders, or is it three belts you're trying to wear at one time? You know what I'm saying? I mean, does it match or does it not? He's like, "Well, I really hadn't thought about it. I was just trying to save some money and use what we already had." I'm like, that can't be what it looks like. And I appreciate the effort of trying to save money, but again, you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face. You don't want to trip over dollars to go pick up some pennies, right? And it's more important to do the right thing, plant the right seed, so you can be picking the right fruit.
There it is. There it is.
So more stories from the field, from an operator, someone that's actually out here doing this. Um, Going on 3 decades, 27 years. Um, so just these little things, man, these little things. Because, again, you start early on, it's enthusiasm, and your mind is connected to more closely connected to the experience of the user when you first start. Well, the longer you've been on the other side, and you're getting disconnected from that perspective. Well, you got to be intentional about reconnecting. Otherwise, you'll be lost. The business will be lost. And it doesn't have to happen that way. So stay tuned for more stories, more experiences. I try to be transparent in not just what I get right, but also the things that I've gotten wrong. And I'll say that, as leaders, because who I speak to oftentimes are the leaders, the owners, the people who run the companies and things, and I have so many that come to me and they say, man, I got this worker that did this wrong, and I got this other person that did this wrong, and that's the reason. And what I often tell people is, you own the company, right? Yeah, yeah, I own the company. I said, well, like that old saying that says when you point one finger at somebody else, you've got a bunch of them pointing back at you, right? You've heard that? Yeah, yeah, I've heard that. Okay. Well, I need you, if you want to be successful, your starting point and your philosophy has to be that 99% of the problems are your fault, regardless of who else was involved in it. 99% of it is your fault. Therefore, it's your responsibility to fix.
No bad teachers, no bad students, only bad teachers. There
There it is. So
it is.
I'll leave y'all with that one, man. We'll catch up on the next one.